Hey, it's Rufus. This week on Constructive Interference, we're doing something different. I was invited on the Partnerships for Profit podcast, and the conversation was too good not to share. Let's dive in.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Partnerships for Profit podcast. My name is Macy J, and I will be your host for this incredible episode. But we have somebody amazing here with us. We've got an amazing person. His name is Rufus Cressend. I'm going to give him a little bit of an introduction so that y'all know the rundown about Rufus. So Rufus Cressend, he is a private wealth advisor at Waterfront Wealth Management. This is a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services. So not only is Rufus a wealth advisor, but he's also a CFP, a CEPA. If you don't know about that, we're going to dive deeper into that in this episode. So he helps vision-driven entrepreneurs grow their enterprise value and craft seamless strategic exits from their business. So let's give a warm round of applause for Rufus. How are you feeling today, Rufus? How's it going?
Any better, I'd be you, Macy. So thank you for asking.
Well, we just want to say thank you for joining us back here on Partnerships for Profit. Just a little tidbit. Rufus was our very first guest on Partnerships for Profit. So we're gonna do a run back. We're gonna run it back so that we can see how far Rufus has come in his business and learn a little bit more about him, his message, what he's doing. So let's get started, Rufus. Are you ready? Are you feel like you're ready?
I think so. Let's go.
Let's go. Okay.
I'm gonna try to match your energy. That's gonna be tough, but I'll do my best.
All you got to do is be yourself, and that is perfect enough.
Well, I'm used to that, so I'm good. That's the only way I know how to be. So there you go.
Period. I'd like to kind of kick off these episodes with a little would you rather to kind of warm it up. So let me know. I've got a series of 3 different questions, okay? So for the first question, would you rather have $1 million right now or $10,000 a month for the rest of your life?
Well, that's easy. $1 million now.
$1 million?
Well, it's kind of an occupational hazard. I know what to do with $1 million now that can turn it much more than $10,000 a month. So it makes a lot more sense for someone like me, but also having the options of knowing exactly where I can invest that and how to deploy that to duplicate it. So yeah,
that's so true. Coming from a wealth advisor, you would know. Let me just get the money up front. I know how to invest it in these different areas. Oh, sure. Okay. All right, so round 2. Would you rather have a personal chef or a personal driver?
I would probably say a personal driver. Yeah. I kind of already have a personal driver because it's not in probably the safest way. So, but I have one of those self-driving cars. So people, when they say, "What do you like most about your Tesla?" So honestly, sitting in traffic. It's like day and night because you can just put the autopilot on. You can make your phone calls. You can just kind of pay attention to other things. And you got 7 cameras on the road. And I know when I didn't have 7 cameras controlling the car and it was just my 2 eyes, I was much more prone to get into an accident because all you got to do is take your eyes off the wheel for a second in traffic and you're hitting somebody. So I like that part of it. So it just, I don't know. I like going fast too. Don't get me wrong, but my own. And I know, in case my wife is watching, she would never forgive me if I said I'd want a personal chef. So she does a pretty good job. You don't get this size because you have someone at home that cooks poorly. So
exactly. I mean, food is everything, and when you have somebody that knows what you like and how to make it, that makes it everything. And like you said,
takes a lot of pride, a lot of love goes into the meals that she creates.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And when you mentioned having the self-driving Tesla, that's actually so cool. So that means you can listen to music like literally without having to look at the road. Is that right?
Yes, in theory, yeah. I don't like to advertise it that way, but yes, in theory, yes. It's gotten me home on many occasions where
that is the future.
I had more of my eyes on the road, but so far so good.
So far, so good. I like that. Okay, so we got a personal driver as opposed to a personal chef. And finally, for the last round of our would you rather have a guaranteed $10 million portfolio or the chance to pitch your idea to 10 billionaires?
Pitch my idea. What idea would that be, though? What are we talking about?
Any of your investment ideas. If you pitch them to billionaires to be an investor in your business, would you have that happen?
I don't know. I think that you said 10 million.
Yeah.
So I'd probably go with the 10 million because I can probably open up as many doors to billionaires. All you got to do is buy the VIP ticket every now and then. And $10 million buys a lot of VIP private dinners and so on. So I could stretch that 10 million pretty quickly.
Ooh, yes. I like what you said there. He said, give me the 10 mil. I'll do some VIP dinners. That's no problem.
Well, think about it. Think about all the billionaires that are out there. They're always attached to some kind of charity. And usually there's that highest level VIP ticket that gets you a certain amount of time alone with them on one-on-one time. And you can talk about whatever you want. If I want to sit there and pitch for 15 minutes, I'm going to pitch for 15 minutes. I just bought that time. And I guarantee you it cost me a whole lot less than $10 million. So I think that I think it's smarter. Yeah.
See, I'm already hearing the strategic mindset going on. I'm really excited. Now that we are about to transition from the would you rather, and you kind of already know what to do with your money, let's talk about this is the number one mistake business owners make before they exit. So you help plan folks and entrepreneurs on their exit strategy. So what I want to know for this first question is, why do so many entrepreneurs struggle going from operating in the business day to day to investors? How do you help them cross that bridge?
Well, let's see. The number one mistake, I think, it's kind of a very simple answer is that they don't have a written plan. They may have an idea floating in their head, but until it's actually written down and they can communicate that plan to someone, it's not really a plan. So I think that I'm talking like 95% of business owners would agree that having a transitional strategy in place is probably a good idea, but over 50% of them don't have a written plan. So they all think it's a good idea, but they haven't taken to the level of having that formal written plan. So other than that, you'd be surprised how many business owners just do not understand their numbers. And you have to understand your numbers going into some type of an exit strategy and have meaningful conversations. But we'll dive into a little bit more of that. But I would say it's somewhere between those two things.
Yeah. So basically, a lot of folks, they don't really have a plan. Maybe they don't really know how to even do that. They've never considered, well, what would me being an investor look like as opposed to just operating? And you've seen so many entrepreneurs where they built up the business and then they end up selling it because they're like, well, I've already built it up, so I would just rather be an investor. I think about the guy from MySpace. What was his name? Tom. he built up MySpace and then he dipped. He was like, goodbye.
All right.
And he's like probably on an island somewhere.
Well, I mean, you have to kind of figure out what avenue you're going. Sometimes people want to grow their companies to monetize it and that be their retirement plan. They'll work to the day they die. They'll just transition and reinvent their role within their companies over the years. I think this is a great plan. Other people do want to get to this critical mass and say, okay, now that I can get this dollar figure, I can now go pursue other passions that I've always dreamed about doing. I think the biggest thing that people tend to want to sell their business, and it's usually motivated by burnout because they don't really own a business. They own a company, or basically they own a job. The company really owns them. So they're just tired of the headaches and they're saying, okay, you know what, if I have to do this another 5 years, I'm going to take a hostage. I got to get out of this. I need to figure out a way out. So they're not really planning. They're not doing it for the right reasons. But if they realized if they were to build that company that was ready for sale, a lot of those headaches in doing so would go away. And that might reinvigorate the passion of why they even got into business for the first place. So to have those conversations are extremely healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense because you said you're basically a slave to a job, and it's really not any different from like a 9 to 5 in terms of what you're putting into it and just the energy exchange that happens. Is that you're working so much more and you get burnt out from working so many hours. So, what would you say? When do you know is the right time to exit from the company? Like, how do you know that all right, it's time to shift? I've reached max capacity and it's time to shift.
Well, going back to the last point, I mean, I would say that the thing that to kind of transition from that technician in the business, every business started kind of the same way. The founders bootstrapped it, and they were the lead salesperson. They went out and got the deals. They took all the risks. And a lot of them don't ever get out of that role. And when they're in that mindset of the technician, they're very much income focused of the business, which is important. Don't get me wrong. But when you start changing how you look at your business as being more of an investor in your business, then you shift from being income focused to more equity focused. How can I grow the value of the company versus how can I grow the profits of the company? Because the value can grow much further beyond what the profits can dictate. And the same thing, if I own a job, what do I really have to sell? I have to sell to someone else that wants to own that job. But if I own a system, okay, now I have a lot more buyers and a lot more investors that can say, well, cool, I can be an investor. I can put my people in there, and I'm buying the system that doesn't need you to be here. So it's all of a sudden worth a whole lot more. Now, the two companies may be identical from an income standpoint, but one person has systems, the other person is a lead technician in their business. So there's usually a discount on that value, and they're going to have some kind of a transition over a period of time for it to even be attractive for a potential buyer.
Yeah.
So, but so as far as the right time to sell, I mean, I would say yesterday was the right time to start to have a plan in place. And if you don't have one in place, then I would say today would probably be the best time to start beginning with the end in mind, because you don't know when that right opportunity is going to come along. Now, you might have a goal that ties into your personal financial plan that says, by this age, I would like to be able to have exited. But you don't know what's going to happen between then and now. So the right buyer may come along, and this is assuming these are all voluntary exits. Over 50% of exits of business owners are involuntary, and that can happen for a lot of different reasons: and death, disability, divorce, a lot of different things that can interfere with the plan. So we all have a plan, right? Until somebody punches us in the mouth. That's how the saying goes. So you need to start preparing your company for sale as soon as possible, whether you want to sell it or not. The idea would be is that my company is always ready for sale, to where it's almost like the mindset that says, everything's for sale, just not everything's on sale, right? So you want to get to the point to where it's like, I could sell this company tomorrow and be at maximum value and be okay with that and go do something else, but I don't really want to. So, but in the meantime, I'm going to continue to operate and own this company at maximum value, which is ultimately a reflection of very, very finely tuned systems that you have in place that keep that company going, whether you show up or not. So there's an attractiveness level that you can score on as far as how attractive are you to other potential buyers, but there's also a readiness score that you can kind of get for yourself to say, how ready am I? Mindset has to change when you start looking at your exit. It's not just about selling your business. It has to reflect with not only your business plan, but your personal financial plan, but also your personal plan.
Right.
We know what you're retiring from or what you're selling, but what are you retiring to? And is it the right amount of money that will keep you financially independent for the rest of your life, or help you maintain your lifestyle without running out of money?
Yeah.
But also, what are you just going to play golf every day? You're going to go fishing every day? I mean, especially if you sell early and you're at this, okay, look at all this newfound wealth that I have. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, but there's nobody to do it with because all my friends are still working. So a lot of our social environment, think about it this way. Our social environment, the people we spend time with are the people we interact with in our professional network or the people at work.
Yes.
But we're very important people when we're at work, especially when you're the business owner. You have a purpose. Like I said, you have a certain amount of authority, respect, and then all of a sudden you give all those things up and you go into this other place where you're not an important person, you don't have any real purpose of, you're not building anything. And most entrepreneurs are very they're always going to want to dabble into something. They can't really just go and slow down. It's usually kind of hardwired into them that they have to be out in front, creating things, doing new things, taking certain types of risks. Just to go into the safe space and reinvent themselves could be very, very difficult. So you do need to start thinking about these things. So, when's the right time? I mean, I would have it reflect upon a dollar amount. We call that the wealth gap, figuring out what is your company worth today versus what it needs to be. We have to factor in what those net proceeds after the sale would be after taxes. And is that enough for us to do whatever we want, whenever we want, and maintain that lifestyle? So there's so many things that go into that, but you really need to start preparing today as if your company was going to sell tomorrow without the intention of selling it tomorrow.
Oh, you just said some great nuggets. Like, I'm mind blown because you said it's not just about how much profit are we bringing in. It's also about the value of the business if you have it up for sale. So basically, I think about the new American dream is what they say, the freedom of time. A lot of people, they want to spend time with their families. They want to be able to go golf. They want to go on a boat, a yacht, or whatever every day because they realize how just draining it is to just keep punching in the hours, but then they're not spending time with their families. They're not watching their kids grow up. So this makes me think about like Fenty Beauty. You see a lot of these like musicians and entertainers, they've transitioned into the beauty industry or cosmetics of some kind. So you got like Kylie Jenner, Fenty Beauty, Selena Gomez has her brand and everything like that. But those businesses skyrocketed them into becoming a billionaire. And I think about Rihanna. She is no longer like the CEO of the company anymore. She is purely an investor. So what types of strategies do you think works for her to be able to be like, all right, my value is good enough?
Well, that's the thing too, is that you got to also look at where your company is, especially if you're a founder and entrepreneur or a founder visionary. There's a certain skill set that it takes to be a successful founder visionary versus being a professional visionary. So meaning that the potential of your company eventually will grow beyond your capabilities. So it comes back to, do you want to be king or do you want to be rich? So I don't know what the conversation was with Rihanna, but at some point she says, look, I have this empire. I don't know a thing about running a company. I just know how to be me and do what my skill set is. But now that we have this behemoth, maybe it would be smart if we actually got a professional CEO to run this company beyond what I can take it to myself. I can still be me and do all those things. And I think that at that crossroads, the founder CEO needs to really determine, okay, do I need to go out there and hire a more professional a CEO, kind of the mindset of what got me here won't get me there, or do I need to go out there and learn those skills myself? So that's the evolution that I think a lot of the business owners really don't understand. And I say king or rich, meaning that, do you want to be in control and have those limitations, or do you want to be rich, meaning that have your company grow beyond your capabilities? In doing so, you're going to give up certain liberties, certain control. I mean, you're still the owner. You can't be fired from being the owner.
Right.
But what is your role within the company, and does the company need your skill set, or do they need someone better than you to take it to that next level? And I think you have to make that decision beyond just your own needs. You got to look at the people that are in your company and saying, look, if we're not growing, I'm limiting the potential opportunities for the people within my company. And either we're growing or we're dying. And if I'm not the person to grow that company, then how secure are the people that have entrusted me with this business to make those decisions to keep them gainfully employed throughout the rest of their career? And they are responsible for their own family. So you're not just making that decision for yourself. You do need to look inward and say, I'm a steward of this company. Yes, it's my company, but people trust me to make these decisions on their behalf, not only what's in my best interest, but the interest of the company and for the people in it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I've got to give you a little clap right there, because you said, do you want to be a king or do you want to be rich? Do you want the control, or do you want to just, allow the company to be able to grow? And like you said, sometimes it's realizing, honestly, here are my limitations.
Yeah.
If I want this brand to go beyond myself, I need to hire the right people.
Right.
And so let's say you have someone who is used to being, a CEO, just running the business and stuff like that. What kind of incentives is there being an investor rather than being the king? So what is the benefits of being an investor on the other side rather than operating in it?
Well, think about it from the standpoint of what I even mentioned earlier. Let's take a step back. So if you're that owner, operator, that founder, you're very much in the business every day. You're not necessarily working on the business. The business has kind of been built around your skill set and your abilities. It makes the company less valuable, less transferable. So again, even when I say, do you want to be king or rich? A lot of the times the response from an entrepreneur will, I want both. I'm like, fine, let's do both. But you're going to have to get better. Okay.
Right.
Because you can't stay still where you are, because the skills that got you here are absolutely not going to get you there. So I think that once you become the investor, if you really pay attention, what control you're giving up, it's not really all the control that you think it is. And a lot of people look at that CEO as almost like a status, like I've been here longer than anybody else, I deserve the title of CEO.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make sense. Think about other industries. Let's say, you are a flight attendant and you've been working for Delta for 20 years, and out of recognition of hard work and a lot of great job, we're going to go ahead and promote you to pilot because we think you deserve to be pilot and we want to recognize you as pilot. Well, you're not qualified to be the pilot of that plane. You're a flight attendant. That's why we don't ask the maitre d' that's been there for 20 years to go be the head cook. Sure, it's a title increase, but so the CEO is kind of that same thing. You don't have the skills of what's required. So go out there and get them or hire someone that can do it. And ultimately, in doing so, you're thinking more like an investor. And if you look at the roles of the CEO, it is very much in the business management role. Okay, totally. It's an executive position versus the role of the owner. We still get to call the shots because it's still our company. And again, you can't get fired from being an owner. So where the fun that you've been seeking is really in that owner's box, in that investor's box. Because now you get to say and make decisions that says, okay, well, I have all this money coming in. I don't even have to show up. I can disappear for 60 days, 90 days, and the company's self-sustaining. It's self-growing. It doesn't require me to go out there and make that next big sale. Okay, good. So now this money's rolling in. Where would be a smart place to invest some of these proceeds? I'm getting it in. I could either go give it to someone like Rufus and he can invest it and do what everybody else does, or I could find a smarter place to say, okay, I'm going to invest in this vertical, this complementary business that instead of all this money going out to these other vendors, I'm just going to own a company like that and we'll just buy it from ourselves. These are the different ways that I understand this business. I know this business. I can control that part of the market. Doing things that they know and that they've been doing for many years, they're very much in a qualified position to be an investor in a lot of those verticals. So the possibilities start to become endless. You start thinking beyond just the company that you created. When you're an investor, you can start looking at complementary companies, or even in diversifying an owner, an investor in other companies where you're taking more of a passive role, or you can be a part of a board as part of that ownership and drawn upon your instincts and your years of knowledge and wisdom that you've accumulated. So I think when I look at the holy grail of being a business owner, I look at it as how to be the best investor I can be in my business, not necessarily the best CEO I can be in my business. Now, right now, I am the CEO, and I'm going to, and I surround myself with other great CEOs because I think that's the best way to learn how to be a great CEO. You can't always learn by reading books. As I said, I can read a lot of books on being how to be a great quarterback, but if I step onto that field and think I can be Drew Brees, it ain't going to happen. I get clobbered. Okay, so knowledge and wisdom can only take you so far. Experience takes you a little bit further than that. So you have to learn from other people that are in the trenches with you that are going through the same thing. So that's what I surround myself with. But I'm evolving to that third act. And that third act of me owning my business is being the investor. And I think the business that I know a lot about, obviously, I've gotten this far. And now I'm looking for ways to invest not only in the business, but the people in the business. How can I develop them to be future leaders? That's pretty smart.
Ooh. I like that you said that. You kind of hit the phase one is like being in the business, being the CEO, but then you begin this transition into investor. You're investing in the people. How can you develop their skill sets? How can they be the best them? And like you said, all of this is just like, it's just mind blowing to me. I'm sorry, just because let's say you don't come from a background where you know anything about investing. A lot of people just talk about, I own an LLC, but then you can expand your reach when you become an investor. And that's always been, I mean, even for myself, my own dream, because you begin to think outside of yourself and you get to align with different businesses that might have the same kind of similar mission or like-minded people. So what I want to know, Rufus, just from your own experience, do you have a story where you've been able to help set up that generational, multi-generational wealth from investing? How and what that looked like for you?
Well, I think that's a great question in terms of even as you're starting to look at your own exit strategy, is there any plans to sell to your children? And is there other people in the business that you want to sell to? So that's multi-generational planning in and of itself. But when we look at the personal financial plan, remember, there's kind of a three legs to the stool. There's the financial plan, there's the business plan, and then there's the personal plan. The personal plan is more of your life plan. The personal financial plan is more of making sure that your personal numbers work in conjunction with what the business is doing. So the estate planning and the multi-generational planning really comes in the transferring of the wealth. And if it's not necessarily leaving the company to the kids, but leaving the proceeds of the company to the kids, whether it be trust that we want to spendthrift trust, certain trusts that we create for generation skipping taxes. There's so many different things that we can set up. Life insurance trust that keeps certain assets out of the estate. There's usually, when you're dealing with trust, there's very much a push, pull, give, take. There is no perfect trust, unfortunately. It's usually a combination of a lot of things. But all those fancy strategies, they all play a part. I think one of my favorite, the thing that resonates me the most with a multi-generational planning was going through all the motions with the client and dealing with the estate attorney and trying to put all these different conditions and all these control factors into the estate plan. And I finally just said to her, I says, would you worry about these things if your kids had a relationship with me? And she's like, absolutely not. I wouldn't worry about any of this estate plan stuff. I'm just worried that they don't know how to think the way I think. They don't know how to think like a millionaire. And if they get all this inherited money, are they going to squander? Are they going to misappropriate it? Are they going to be stupid with it? And if they don't have someone like you guiding them, then that's why I want to put all these restrictions and all these trusts in place. I'm like, well, wouldn't it be cheaper if you just pay for them to do financial planning with me? And she's like, kind of one of those arrows to the forehead of like, yeah, absolutely, that makes the most sense. So I always throw that out there. It's not necessarily a sales pitch per se. It's just basically saying, you sent your children to college because you value education. You wanted to give them an advantage when they became independent and were in the real world. But they didn't teach your children financial responsibility, a lot of personal financial management. They definitely didn't teach them the behaviors around making money decisions. But you valued it because you saved for college. You spent a lot of money at these institutions for them to get that degree. Why not take it a step further and just invest a little bit further in their financial literacy? And how do you do that? You have them work with someone like me. Say, look, I'll pay for half, or I'll pay for the first 2 years of your financial planning with Rufus and his team. And that way, if something happened to me tomorrow, I know that you at least have a guide you're not going to squander all this money that you've inherited. So I think that's one of the plans that really is my favorite. Sure, all the trust and all the other fancy things that we can do, that will play a part. But I think them having that financial literacy and the children having a plan for themselves and for their families is probably one of the smartest investments that I think high net worth business owners or just high net worth people in general can do for their children.
Yeah, no, I completely agree because, like you said, financial planning, literacy, and things like that. Let's just say they don't know really where to put their money at. They already have that guide there with them to hold their hand through the process. And, even for me, I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that you could even do something like that. So you don't have to keep stressing about, well, how do I get them to think like me? How do I get them to, be like me? And you're like, how about if I just help them? Like, it's pretty simple and straight to the point. So, what would happen if I don't have kids and I have a bunch of all this money and I'm like, I don't really think I'll end up having kids or whatever. What are some ways I could invest my own wealth into things after I go on? But I want it to be for a good cause.
Sure. So, well, in Louisiana, in most states, if you don't have your own will, the good news, bad news of it is the state has one for you. So even if you don't have children, you usually have a next of kin, and maybe it's an ungrateful niece or nephew or distant cousin. Someone somewhere is getting that inheritance. And a lot of times it could be taxable to them if it's money like in 401k and IRAs. So that kind of starts a new conversation, which we call social charity. Now, you say, well, Rufus, what is social charity? Well, that's another word for taxes. So meaning that's the money that you leave behind for the government for them to spend on the causes that they feel is worthy of your money. And I said, well, I don't like that, Rufus. I'm like, well, let's do something about it. Well, I don't know how. Well, let me show you. And that's that kind of thing where it says, if we can start having those conversations now that says, look, all this 401k money, if it goes to the ungrateful nieces and nephews, they're going to maybe keep 70 cents on every dollar because the other third is going to the IRS because they have to take it as income. But if we leave it to a cause or a passion that you have, and it's a 501c3 or non-taxable entity, then they get 100% of that dollar. The IRS doesn't get anything.
Wow.
You get to choose your own charities versus the government choosing the charities for you. And that's what we call government spending, right?
Wow.
So it's a different mindset that says, well, why do people do that? It's because they don't work with a planner like me, because they don't have someone to talk to them about this and kind of explain the reality. But nobody likes to talk about what's going to happen after I die. It's not a fun conversation. So we try to at least liven it up a little bit, but basically walk through says, if you do nothing, this is what's going to happen. Are you okay with that? No? Okay, well, let's do something about it.
Yeah.
And usually so little things that you have to do. It doesn't cost much at all. But yeah, I would probably find the causes and charities that the passions that you enjoy, that you would like to support beyond your lifetime. Personally, I like to put it into some type of a trust that can support them for years to come. Because let's say, for example, you love animals. So, well, SPCA. Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I'll leave it to the SPCA. I'm like, okay, is that the best cause for animals? Who knows? Debatable. But let's say they have people that they employ to do fundraising. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if they get $1 million from your estate, they just reached their quota. They're going to go resurface the parking lot or whatever the case is. That's what your money went to, is to go resurface the parking lot or to other employee spending. And you may have wanted it to go to the kittens and to the puppies. So with your own personal foundation, you can appoint someone that says, I have certain causes and things that I'm passionate about that I want to support them for years to come. I want a certain percentage of this money to go out every year, but the rest of it, I want it to be invested. And the interesting thing about that is, even with people who have children and grandchildren, when you can establish that family foundation, let me ask you, Macy, do you know your great-grandfather's name?
No. Okay. I'm thinking about it. Joseph?
Okay, Joseph. So you may have heard his name somewhere. Do we know what he was passionate about?
No idea.
Okay. You don't know what was important to him, what got him up, but he's obviously important to you because you're here because of him. But it only took a couple of generations for him to be completely forgotten. So sometimes it doesn't even have to go to great-grandfather. It's even grandfather. So I knew my grandfather. Did I know what was important to him? Now, luckily, I had a great relationship with my grandparents. So I do know what was important to them. But They didn't leave any kind of foundation to where I get to think about them every year in that matter. But if you created something like that, it's generations to come that says, Macy put this money in and it's grown. And she's appointed, generation after generation to be trustees, to be able to dole out this money to causes that are consistent with what was important to her and her values. And if even the charities that she named ever have values that are inconsistent, because charities do change their agendas from time to time. If they're ever inconsistent with what Macy wanted, we have the discretion to go find another charity that's worthy of the money that Macy wanted to support.
Wow, that is so powerful. So no matter which direction you go, there are ways to disperse where you want your money to go. And if you don't, somebody's going to make the decision for you, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
You decide. Don't leave it up to the government to decide the causes that they think are worthy of your money.
Totally.
You worked hard for that money. You get to decide.
Absolutely. No, this has been just so enriching hearing you drop these nuggets all about just investing and where you want to spend your money and how you should go about it, and getting out of just the operator mindset and zooming out and stepping into the investor mindset. Now, I do want to take some time to spend the next 10 minutes to talk about this cool mastermind that you are a part of, which is Content into Clients. So you are part of this amazing mastermind, and a lot of people, they're not a part of masterminds. And so I would love to know, before joining the Content into Clients mastermind, where were you struggling the most with your marketing or client acquisition in your business? Where were you struggling the most before you joined?
My motivations for joining may be a little bit different than maybe what some other people maybe get involved for, but it was really revolving around the social media and the podcasting that I'm doing. So it's one of those things where I'm getting out of my comfort zone, and I like when things scare me. I kind of try to get it head on, and you just kind of throw yourself in there, but you don't want to necessarily look stupid.
Right.
So when you don't know how to do something, it's the same formula for anything. I go find someone that is doing successfully something that I'm looking to do myself and ask them how they did it. And a lot of times that would be either hiring a coach or being in a mastermind where I can learn with other people that are kind of on that same journey. And I think that was really the motivation is, if it turns into clients, great. I think I'm doing it more as to be a thought leader in the community and speak to other entrepreneurs. But also, I think indirectly it probably brings business to my company because it's just more awareness of, okay, that Rufus guy seems to be smart. He knows what he's talking about. I should probably have a conversation with him. That's all fine. If it happens that way, it's great. But I think that's what the company requires of me, is to go out there and lead. And, I've been in this business for 30 years and, I can outsource just about anything that I do on a day-to-day operation. The one thing I can't outsource is me. And I can't hire someone to be me with 30 years of experience. So I'm going to lean into that and say, how can I be a better me with 30 years of experience? And that's where I'm trying to get out and talk to the people in social media and just hopefully drop something of value that they can use. And maybe at some point, if they're ready to hire someone like me, they'll think of me. That's fine too. So I think that now that's my philosophy on why I joined these masterminds. And this one in particular was, like I said, just learning from others and picking up different things. When I go to conferences, I'll answer it this way. When I go to conferences, and they said, what was the best part of the conference? It's always the same answer for me. It was breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks in between, and drinks at the bar afterwards. Well, what about the content of the conference? Well, that was all good, but it was the conversations with the people that were there for the same reason and learning what they got out of it and having conversations that drives it into memory. Because you can tell me something and speak at me for an hour and a half, and maybe I retain some of it. It's until I actually have those conversations does it really drive in. But to hear other people's interpretations, it's kind of the same mindset with this mastermind. I say mastermind, it's kind of like our little diabolical group. But no, it's just people that are probably dealing with a lot of the same imposter syndrome and insecurities that I'm dealing with, and they're doing something about it and they want to overcome it. And this is a great place to be vulnerable and say, hey, you know what? I don't have this figured out. This is new territory. I sometimes feel dumb. How can I be better? And they're like, oh, I see, dude. I get it. Hey,
Yeah.
we're there with you. So it's good to have that support group that protects the confidence, because especially the further you put yourself out there on whether it be a podcast or social media, you're going to have haters. And
Yes.
so who are you going to listen to? The haters or your support group? The support group is basically saying, don't worry about them. Hey, they do it to us too. It doesn't mean anything. They have nothing better to do than to write negative comments. It's the people that protect the confidence. You need to surround yourself with people that support you in that way. And I think that's a great reason, if nothing else, just to support yourself. Have people protect your confidence and give you support sometimes when you doubt yourself, because the rest of the world will make you doubt yourself.
That is some golden nuggets right there, because the rest of the world is going to doubt you, but you have to be around people that see what you see the vision that you see. And like you said, even if you're 30 years in the game, people still struggle with imposter syndrome. People still struggle with doubt. It doesn't matter like how far along you are. This is just the reality of humanity. And it's great to be around people. And like you said, you can go to these different events. You can get all the, all this information and stuff. And sometimes you lose that much information, but you don't lose out on the relationships that you build, the conversations that you have. Those are like literally like the best things from, even for me. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I got to connect with them so I can learn how to support them too. So like, I love that you mentioned that, how the importance of a mastermind, it's more than just the information that you get. It's about the relationships and being around a supportive community that believes in you when you doubt yourself. So yeah. I completely agree.
I'll tie that into a little shameless plug with my podcast, which my podcast is about that in general, is we call it constructive interference. And that's a physics term that basically says when two vibrations or two frequencies are in sync and they overlap one another in sync, they amplify. And that's the mindset of what this mastermind really does, is we're all there vibrating at a certain frequency. Now, I believe in that stuff, and you don't have to believe that stuff, but I do. I believe if we're all there, we're all in a very positive space of wanting to get better, and we're all in this group seeking things and learning together and learning from one another. So we're all vibrating at that frequency, and I think we build upon each other. We amplify one another versus putting yourself in people that are not vibrating at your level or not. And they call it, we call it, I don't vibe with that person, right? Because they're at a different frequency. Do you think we just do that by accident? No. So it's usually a gut feeling, is like, hey, I'm not feeling this. Well, trust that instinct. It's it's been there for a long time. So that's what constructive interference does, is that I want to talk to other entrepreneurs. I want to hear where their journey is, what they're learning about. I want to hear about their exit strategies, and I want to be able to add value. I'm like, yes, I'm there. I hear you. I see you. And then we amplify one another. It's kind of that iron sharpens iron, visionaries sharpen visionaries.
That's absolutely true. And I'm glad that you mentioned, your podcast. And everything, the things that you talk about on there. How has the mastermind itself helped how you show up on your podcast? Because since you're being around a lot of these like-minded people, does that give you a different level of confidence how you show up on the podcast?
Yeah, I mean, they all feel just as stupid as I feel sometimes. Or they're worried about how they look on camera, the good sides or whatever. I right now I have my little screen covered up. I can't see myself because I know I look stupid. But you know what? People don't care what I look like. They're too involved in their own self. And so I try to, getting vulnerable and saying, well, if I say something dumb, then it's there forever. It's all this self-talk, all these saboteurs in your head. It's just good to have that reinforcement of other people and being like, oh, you think you're the only one? This is, we're there too. So it does make you feel normal. And sometimes people be in groups where you feel normal, because especially visionaries, we're such oddballs in general. So
yes. And at the end of the day, you're Rufus. Like, you're a person. And like I said before, it just showcases the humanity of just who you are. And like, hey, listen, like, I know I'm a little nervous right now, and I just want to be honest about that. And they're like, okay, well, I'm nervous too. So what's up? They're like, I'm nervous too. But it's like, I'm so glad that, you have been a part of the mastermind itself. I'm learning some new things too. We're all in this together. And so we are reaching towards the end of our episode here today. And I could continue to talk to you for days and days, because you have such a great personality and you're meant for podcasting. Like you're totally meant for this. What kind of advice would you give to a baby investor for the ones that are getting into the industry and they don't know, how to start. I know that you said investing in yourself is obviously a great start. Nobody can invest in you but you. What kind of advice would you give to someone who's starting off and they want to get involved with investing?
Just investing in general. I mean, I think it's kind of begin with the end in mind. It says, of course, more money is always better than less money. So when I say begin with the end in mind, saying you have a plan that you can see what the destination is that you're wanting to go. It's almost like saying, well, I know I want more money, but I don't really know why I want more money. It's one of those things where you have to have a target that you can see, and you're more likely to hit it. So I think the first investment, and now this will sound biased, and that's okay. I'm allowed to be biased for my own industry, but I think if you only had a certain amount of dollars to invest and you were looking for the best place to invest, I would hire someone like me, not necessarily a stockbroker, but someone that is a financial planner that will help you invest in yourself and help you gain clarity on where you are and where you want to be, and then and only then create an investment strategy to help you get there. So that would be in my opinion, the greatest return on investment is the one that gives you the clarity of what it is that you're seeking, so that you have more intention and more motivation to make those delayed gratification decisions and put money aside and save towards a goal and look at the reality. If I do this, then I will have this. Otherwise, you're just throwing expensive spaghetti at the wall. And, maybe some things work out, maybe it doesn't. But that would be how I would get started, is find someone that can help you understand your behaviors, give you a target that you can see, and put you on some type of systematic savings strategy that will get you closer to what you're ultimately seeking.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I'm on board with Rufus. You've heard it here, folks. So if you have a little bit of money that you want to start investing, Rufus says invest in the planner, an advisor, somebody to help you, walk you through the process. And if you need more information about how to get in touch with Rufus, what's your website? How can people get in touch with you?
Well, they can reach me at rufuscressend.com. They can also find me at thebusinesscfp.com. But then, I have such an oddball name. If they just do a Google search for Rufus Cressend, chances are one or two people are going to show up, even though my father, which is a CPA, and I'm junior. So I'm the one that's not the CPA. So there you go. There's not many Rufus Cressends running around this world. So I'm usually pretty easy to find.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be definitely clicking in with you so that we can stay connected. I encourage everyone to take a look at Rufus and his amazing business and what he does. We want to say thank you so much for being here on Partnerships for Profit. Rufus, once again, you have been amazing. But that's it, folks. That's the end. But until next time, we'll see you on the next episode of Partnerships for Profit. My name is Macy J. We'll see you soon, everybody.
Big thanks to Partnerships for Profit for having me on. If this sparked something for you, check out past episodes. Catch you next time on Constructive Interference.